long before stadiums were filled with cheering crowds, long before cameras captured every step, long before the world knew his name, there was a boy from a small town in Brazil called Três Corações. His name was Edson Arantes do Nascimento, but soon the world would come to know him as Pelé. Pelé was born on October 23, 1940, into a humble family. Poverty was real, and life was a daily struggle. But the streets became his playground. Barefoot, young Edson dribbled through narrow alleys, kicking tattered balls against older boys. The ball wasn't just a toy, it was a companion, a teacher, a dream. His father, Don Dinho, a former professional footballer, recognized the spark in his son. He taught Edson not only how to kick but how to feel the game, how to respect it, how to master it. Neighbors whispered, "This boy has unlike any child we've seen." Even as a child, Pelé's talent was undeniable. Balance, speed, vision, instinct, all innate, all effortless, all magical. By the age of 10, Pelé was already participating in local youth tournaments. Opponents were astonished by his quick feet and uncanny ability to predict the game. Every match became a showcase of creativity and raw talent, a hint of the legend to come. The first lessons of life and football life was not easy. Food was scarce, and the family often struggled. Yet, Pelé never complained. Instead, he turned adversity into fuel. "The ball never judges you," he said later in life. "It only rewards your dedication." His childhood was filled with long hours of practice on dirt fields, under the scorching Brazilian sun. Even when it rained, Pelé could be found juggling a ball, perfecting his control. Dreaming of the big stadiums he had never yet seen, friends and family marveled at his determination. Every day, he grew stronger, faster, and smarter on the pitch. And every night, he dreamed bigger. First recognition by 1952, at the age of 11, Pelé's talent began attracting attention. Local coaches were amazed at his dribbling skills and goal-scoring instinct. Even the older boys he competed against struggled to keep up. His father often said, "Edson has the heart of a champion, but the world must see it." It was clear that Pelé was destined for something greater than the small-town streets. The boy from Três Corações was preparing to step onto a stage much larger than he could have imagined. The journey ahead, little did Pelé know that in just a few years, scouts from Santos FC would arrive, offering him the first real opportunity to transform his life and the world of football forever. He was about to leave his hometown behind, and Brazil, and eventually the world, would never be the same. Dramatic pause. This boy with the ball at his feet was watching closely, and destiny was already calling his name. By the age of 15, the boy from Três Corações had captured the attention of scouts from one of Brazil's most storied clubs, Santos FC. It was an opportunity that could change everything, and it did. Pelé traveled to Santos, a bustling coastal city far from the quiet streets of his childhood. The city buzzed with energy, hope, and the promise of football glory. For Edson, this was more than a trial. It was a chance to step onto a stage he had only dreamed of. The trial that changed everything. The trial was grueling. Coaches tested every skill: dribbling, passing, shooting, tactical awareness. Many young hopefuls came and went, faltering under the pressure. But Pelé, he danced with the ball. He anticipated every move. Every dribble, every feint, every strike from his foot spoke of a talent beyond his years. By the end of the session, the coaches were in awe. "This boy, he is extraordinary," one whispered. "The world has never seen anything like him." Pelé was offered a place in the Santos Youth Academy. The boy from Três Corações was no longer just a dreamer, he was a rising star. Life in the Academy Santos was a different world. The academy was strict, disciplined, and demanding. Training sessions were long and relentless, pushing young athletes to their limits. Pelé adapted. He woke before dawn, ran drills on the training grounds, practiced shots until his legs ached, and studied the game with unmatched focus. Despite the intensity, he never lost his joy. Football remained a game, a passion, a dance, not just a profession. "I loved football for the fun of it, even as the world started watching," he would later say. First professional steps. At just 16 years old, Pelé made his professional debut for Santos FC. The stadium was small, but the crowd was electric. Fans whispered about the young prodigy. And when he touched the ball for the first time in a professional match, a spark ignited, not just in the stands, but across Brazil. Pelé scored his first professional goal soon after, a moment that cemented his path to greatness. The boy who had once played barefoot in the alleys of Três Corações was now a force to be reckoned with. On the national stage, he was more than a player, he was a phenomenon in the making. The rise of a star. As Pelé continued to excel, his reputation grew. Opponents tried to stop him, yet few could. His dribbling was mesmerizing, his vision on the field was prophetic, and his goals, each one seemed like a glimpse of the divine. Brazil began to whisper a name that would soon become legendary: Pelé. Every match, every touch, every goal was a step closer to destiny, and the boy from Três Corações was only just beginning to write his story. At just 17, a boy who had dazzled the streets of Três Corações and the fields of Santos, found himself on the brink of the greatest stage in football, the FIFA World Cup. In 1958, Brazil called upon its brightest talents to represent the nation in Sweden. Among seasoned veterans and experienced stars, young Pelé was the youngest member of the squad. Many doubted whether this teenage prodigy could handle the pressure of the world's most prestigious tournament. But Pelé carried no fear. He had dribbled through the streets barefoot. He had faced stronger, older, faster opponents. He had already learned to play under pressure. The world stage was simply another field, only bigger, brighter, and more demanding. The early matches, Pelé's first appearances, were cautious yet electrifying. He moved with grace, danced past defenders, and found spaces where none seemed to exist. Brazil won their early matches, but the whispers began. This boy is different. He might just change everything. Opponents tried to mark him, to challenge him, to intimidate him. Yet Pelé's vision, his creativity, and his uncanny instinct allowed him to glide past every obstacle. He scored his first World Cup goal in the quarterfinals, a strike that seemed almost supernatural in its precision. The world was beginning to notice the semifinal brilliance. In the semifinals against France, Pelé produced a performance that would be remembered for generations. 2 goals, each executed with brilliance, each met with gasps from the crowd. Every touch of the ball, every sprint, every feint felt like poetry in motion. Journalists wrote headlines: "The boy from Brazil is no longer just a boy, he is magic." Even the most skeptical spectators were forced to acknowledge that football history was being rewritten in real time. The 1958 World Cup final, the final against Sweden, was a moment of destiny. Pelé, only 17, stepped onto the field with composure far beyond his years. He scored a hat-trick, 3 goals that would forever define a generation. Brazil lifted the FIFA World Cup trophy for the first time, and Pelé's name became immortal. "I was just a boy playing the game I loved," Pelé would later say. But that day, the world began to see not just a boy, but a legend. Impact and legacy. Pelé returned home a hero. He had carried Brazil's hopes on his shoulders and delivered brilliance. The country, once skeptical of his youth, now embraced him as a national treasure. He was not only a player, he was a symbol, a beacon of joy and hope for millions. The world had witnessed the birth of a global icon. Dramatic pause, and yet, this was only the beginning. The boy from Três Corações had stepped onto the world stage. But the legend of Pelé was far from complete. Back on the shores of Brazil, in the coastal city of Santos, a boy who had conquered the world at 17 was about to conquer his club, his league, and eventually, the hearts of millions. Pelé's arrival at Santos was more than just the start of a professional career. It was the beginning of an era defined by speed, skill, and brilliance beyond imagination. Breaking records, Pelé's goal-scoring ability was unprecedented. He scored with both feet, with his head, from impossible angles, and at breathtaking speed. Every match was a showcase of his genius. Opponents feared him. Fans adored him. By the early 1960s, Pelé had already broken multiple scoring records in the Brazilian league. He was a teenager who had become a phenomenon. "I just played with joy," he said, and the goals came. Copa Libertadores glory. Santos FC, led by Pelé, began to dominate South American football. The Copa Libertadores, South America's most prestigious club tournament, became a stage for his artistry. Pelé's dribbles mesmerized defenders, his vision created countless assists, and his finishing was clinical and unstoppable. In 1960 and 1963, Santos lifted the Copa Libertadores trophy, cementing their place among the continent's elite. Pelé was not only the engine of the team, he was the heart and soul of every victory. International fame. Pelé's exploits with Santos did not go unnoticed internationally. European clubs watched in awe. Fans from around the world sent letters. The boy from Três Corações was now a global sensation. Matches against touring European clubs were often exhibitions of his brilliance. Each goal was celebrated as a masterpiece. Each assist was a lesson in football intelligence. Santos became a household name, and Pelé was the reason why. The perfect partnership. Pelé's teammates often spoke of his humility and generosity. Despite his brilliance, he passed, shared, and led with the mentality of a team player. The combination of his talent, vision, and leadership made Santos a machine of joy, energy, and unstoppable football. He was magical, one teammate recalled, but he was also a leader who inspired everyone to be better. A legend in the making. By the mid-1960s, Pelé was not just a star in Brazil. He was a phenomenon in football worldwide. Trophies, goals, and accolades piled up, but his love for the game never waned. He played not just for victory, but for art, joy, and the fans who believed in him. Dramatic pause. Santos was his canvas, and Pelé painted masterpieces with every match, every goal, every dribble. After conquering club football with Santos, the world stage beckoned once more. Pelé, the boy who had stunned the world in 1958, was now a man, and Brazil's hopes rested upon his shoulders once again. 1962 World Cup, redemption and resilience. The 1962 FIFA World Cup in Chile presented new challenges. Pelé had grown, matured, and refined his skills. Opponents steadied him, defenders aimed to neutralize him, and pressure mounted higher than ever. Early in the tournament, disaster struck. Pelé suffered an injury in the second match. Brazil's young star was sidelined. Critics predicted doom, claiming Brazil's dreams were over without him. Yet, Pelé's influence had already set the tone. The team, inspired by his spirit and prior brilliance, fought on, and although Pelé watched from the sidelines, he remained the heartbeat of the squad. Brazil went on to win the 1962 World Cup, and Pelé's contribution, even in absence, was undeniable. He had already proven, true greatness leaves a mark, even when you are not on the field. The 1970 World Cup, the apex of brilliance. Fast forward to 1970, Mexico. Pelé was now at the peak of his powers, a global superstar. The Brazilian team was a constellation of talent: Jairzinho, Tosto, Rivellino, but Pelé was the guiding star. Every touch he made was decisive, every pass precise, every goal poetry in motion. In the quarterfinals against Peru, he scored a masterful goal that would become a highlight of World Cup history. In the semifinals versus Uruguay, he orchestrated plays that left opponents bewildered. And then came the final against Italy. Pelé's brilliance shone brighter than ever. He scored the opening goal, assisted others, and led Brazil to a 4-1 victory, lifting the FIFA World Cup trophy for the third time, an unprecedented achievement. I played with joy, with love, with the freedom football gave me, Pelé later reflected. 1970 was the moment everything came together. The dreams of a boy from Três Corações realized on the world's biggest stage. A legacy cemented by 1970. Pelé was more than a footballer. He was a symbol of excellence, a global ambassador of the game, a player whose creativity, vision, and sportsmanship inspired millions. Every World Cup he touched became a stage for magic. Every pass, dribble, and goal left the world in awe. Pelé's name was immortalized not only in record books, but in the hearts of football fans everywhere. Dramatic pause, 3 World Cups, hundreds of goals, countless moments of genius. The boy from Três Corações had become a man whose legend would echo through generations. Every legend faces a moment when the roar of the crowd fades, when the cheers dim, and the game continues without you. But for Pelé, the final whistle was never an end. It was a celebration of a journey that inspired the world. Club football, continuing greatness. After conquering the 1970 World Cup, Pelé returned to Santos, where he continued to break records and dazzle fans. Even as younger players joined the team, Pelé's skill, vision, and leadership elevated everyone around him. He played with the same joy that had defined his childhood, but now it carried the weight of experience, wisdom, and legend. Fans still flocked to the stadiums, chanting his name, holding banners, and celebrating every touch he made. Pelé remained unstoppable, scoring crucial goals, assisting teammates, and leaving defenders in awe. A global ambassador in the late 1970s, Pelé's career took a new direction. He joined the New York Cosmos in the United States, bringing football to a nation hungry for the beautiful game. Pelé's arrival was transformative. He didn't just score goals, he taught Americans to love football. He elevated the sport, inspired youth academies, and became a global ambassador. I wanted to show that football is universal, he said. It's a language everyone can understand. Retirement and reflection. Pelé officially retired in 1977, leaving behind over 1,000 professional goals, 3 World Cups, countless records in Brazilian and international football. But even in retirement, he remained close to the game. He advised clubs, mentored young stars, and continued promoting football worldwide. The boy from Três Corações had become more than a player. He was a mentor, an ambassador, and a symbol of excellence, resilience, and joy. The man behind the legend. Despite the fame, Pelé never forgot his roots. He valued family, friendships, and humility above all. He gave back to his community, inspired generations, and remained a beacon of hope for millions. "I played for love, not for fame," he often said. "And because of that love, I achieved more than I ever imagined." Legacy solidified. Pelé's impact transcended statistics. It wasn't only about goals or trophies, it was about the inspiration he provided, the joy, the artistry, the passion. He brought football to life for the world. Even decades later, his name evokes awe and respect. He proved that greatness isn't just measured in victories, but in the lives you touch and the hearts you inspire. Dramatic pause. The boy from Três Corações had left the pitch, but the legend of Pelé was immortal. Some legends are measured in goals, trophies, and records, but others, the truly extraordinary, are measured in the lives they touch, the inspiration they ignite, and the legacy they leave behind. Pelé belongs to both. Beyond the pitch. After retiring, Pelé became a symbol far beyond Brazil. He traveled the world, promoting football, peace, and education. He met presidents, kings, and world leaders, always carrying the same humility that had defined his youth. "Fame is fleeting," he said, "but the love you give and the joy you share lasts forever." He advocated for children, establishing programs to bring football and education to underprivileged communities. Pelé understood that the magic of football could inspire hope, discipline, and dreams, just as it had inspired him in Três Corações. Mentorship and influence. Pelé's influence extended to generations of footballers. He inspired players like Zico, Ronaldo, Neymar, and countless others who grew up dreaming of emulating his genius. He shared his wisdom generously: how to dribble, how to pass, how to anticipate the game, but more importantly, how to carry oneself with dignity, humility, and joy. "I want young players to remember talent alone is not enough," he would say. "Work hard, respect the game, and love it with all your heart." Awards and recognition. Even after his playing days, accolades poured in. Pelé was named FIFA Player of the Century, received countless honorary awards, and became a global ambassador of sport and culture. Yet he remained grounded. For Pelé, it was never about personal glory. It was about the beautiful game, the joy of fans, and the dreams of children everywhere. Inspiration across generations. Pelé's story, from the dusty streets of Três Corações to stadiums across the world, is a testament to resilience in the face of hardship, dedication to one's craft, the power of joy and passion. He showed that greatness is not only measured by trophies, but by the hearts you touch and the dreams you inspire. The eternal legend. Even decades later, Pelé's name resonates across continents. The boy who once played barefoot has become a symbol of hope, artistry, and human potential. "I played because I loved it," he said, "and because of that love, the world remembered me." Pelé's life reminds us that true legends never fade. They live on in stories, in memories, in dreams, and in the hearts of those who believe. Dramatic pause. The boy from Três Corações was watching closely, and so was the world.